Hey guys, we are looking at today dividing fractions and mixed numbers, which is lesson number 7 in your notes packet. So we've got some example problems to look at and understanding why we can divide fractions. So basically, important to remember that when we are dividing fractions, what we are really doing arithmetically is we are actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So if you noticed algebraically, if I have a over b divided by c over d, that's the exact same thing as saying a over b times d over c. What this is actually called is called multiplying by the reciprocal. Numbers are reciprocals of each other if, when multiplied together, they equal one whole. So for example, 1/3 and 3 are reciprocals because 1/3 times 3 is 3 over 3, which is 1. Well, that's awesome, Mrs. Hook, but who really cares about reciprocals? Why are they important? Well, because when we divide fractions, we are actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is like a really big deal. So if I'm doing 3/8 divided by 7/12. So the way that I'm going to set this up is actually 3/8 times 12 over 7. Why? Because 12 over 7 is the reciprocal of 7/12. Now now I'm ready to rock and roll with simplifying. So the greatest common factor between 8 and 12, I believe, is 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So my answer is going to be 9/14. Oops. Okay, so that is how dividing fractions works. All right, let's take a look at a real life application problem here. So Paolo wants to put a row of decorative tiles along a wall. The wall is 72 3/8 inches wide. Each tile is 3 3/4 inches wide. Estimate the number of tiles he will need. Draw a diagram to model the situation. So I've drawn a diagram that shows the width of my wall and how wide each individual tile is. So right now, if I'm just going to estimate to give myself a ballpark answer, I know that 72 3/8 is closest to 72, 3 3/4 is closest to 4. So I'm going to need about 18 tiles. Let's see what dividing a mixed number is really going to look like, since this was just estimating. So we have 6 1/4 divided by 1 7/8. So my first step is I have to, just like with multiplying, I have to make my mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 6 1/4 is 25 over 4. 1 7/8 would be 15 over 8. So I have my problem set up correctly as a division problem. But remember, when we are dividing, we are really multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're really multiplying by 8/15 because that's the reciprocal of 15 over 8. And now I can cross simplify, so I can divide 15 and 25 by 5 and 4 and 8 by 4. So once I've simplified, I'm now ready to multiply to get 10 over 3, which would also be 3 1/3. 10 over 3 is an acceptable answer for Algebra 1. 3 and 1/3 is also an acceptable answer. All right, so let's look again at a real life problem. Looks like we're making some banana muffins. So Chris uses 3/4 cup of brown sugar in each batch of his banana muffins. He has a total of 5 cups of brown sugar. How many batches of banana muffins can Chris bake? So since we're trying to figure out how many 3/4 cup portions are in 5 cups, we're going to divide. How many times does 3/4 group into 5? So the first thing we have to do is write 5 as a whole number. I'm sorry, 5 as a fraction. So we have 5 over 1 divided by 3/4. And we know to divide a fraction really means we multiply by the reciprocal. So our first number stays the same, and our second number flops upside down. 4/3 is the reciprocal of 3/4. So now I'm ready to multiply. I don't have any simplifying, so it looks like it's just going to be 20 over 3, which would be 3 goes into 20 6 times with 2 left over, so 6 and 2/3. So Chris has enough brown sugar to make 6 and 2/3 batches of muffins. And for giggles, 2/3 of a batch of muffins would be 8 muffins in that 2/3 of a batch. Okay, we also have enough oatmeal to make 5 batches of cookies. We want to distribute 3 1/3 cups of raisins equally among the 5 batches. What amount of raisins should be put into each batch? So we have to know how to set this up. Well, how many cups of raisins do we have? We have 3 1/3 cups of raisins. So that is what we start with. And we want to divide those into 5 equal batches. So our problem looks like 3 1/3 divided by 5. So 3 1/3 divided by 5 transforms into 10 over 3 divided by 5 over 1. And again, we know when we are dividing a fraction, what are we really doing? Multiplying by the reciprocal. So 5 over 1 becomes 1/5. And now we're ready to simplify. 10 and 5's greatest common factor is 5. So my 5 becomes a 1, my 10 becomes a 2, and it looks like 2/3 is my final answer. So each batch of cookies can get 2/3 cups of raisins. So if I was taking a multiple guess answer, I would say answer C is my correct option. And that, my friends, is working with dividing fractions. See you later.